Good morning. I think it should be working. Good morning. And what a morning it is so far. Oh, what is that? Ooh. I figure like I could get dressed up in the morning, and like, oh, you're gonna be on stream, you're gonna look really, really nice today. But also, I feel what's particularly in the spirit of being in the morning is the fact that I look like I just rolled out of bed. Because I did. So we're gonna do that for several hours and then we'll look nice. Where were we? I actually took the weekend off. Pardon me. I actually took the weekend off, which I don't normally do. Normally I stress about everything, but had some time to relax, rest, enjoy, and I'm actually recording this time. Last time I worked for 3 hours and didn't record because I'm so darn good at this game. But today, I think let's go ahead and just get to work on making a bunch of different assets, like things that are going to go in the game. We already have grass. We already have a couple things of that nature. So, what's left to do is make just more stuff. We made this little flower last time. I don't necessarily know that I'll keep him, but we'll keep him for now, I suppose. Um, simple. Or sorry, I should have spelled that. Got my cat complaining in the background. Um, underscore 0. But yeah, we'll just start making stuff. I think one of the things that I'm going to be making today is going to be a tree. And I'm not super looking forward to that because trees kind of irritate the living daylights out of me. But um, a tree maybe will be nice. I did this clover. What does this guy look like? Clover? Clover? Why can I see no other things? Good morning to anyone who's popping in there. Oh, okay, there we go. Hmm. No, I think that'll be fine. I don't think I need to do that differently. Yeah, let's make a couple different flowers. There's a few different kinds of flowers I had listed out that I wanted to make. We'll just probably go through and start making those guys. And I think that's the plan. Oh, goodness. So, one of the flowers I wanted to make was a sort of flat starburst kind of flower. I think probably the best way to do that is if we come up with a circle here, give it some number of points. 5, maybe? I think 5 will do just fine there. Done. Doing stuff, making flowers. So the way we're going to make this flower is I kind of showed this a couple times as a demonstration when I was working with the alphas. That the idea is we're going to essentially manipulate the UVs one at a time so that each of these faces is showing off the same thing, basically. Um, why can't I see anything? That's not correct. Oh, I bet it is, and I always forget what button it is. Yeah, okay. There's a button, and I can never remember what the button is. It's called local view, and it basically makes it so that toggle numpad slash. There we go. Oh goodness. Basically, it means that you're only working on the thing that you have currently selected or that you're in local view for. And it can be really disorienting because suddenly nothing like turns on or off the way it's supposed to, and you're like, what the hell is going on? It's just local view usually. All right, so we've got this here. I'm going to go ahead and take probably this one face. We'll rip it out, and we'll do that to each of them here. Copy these UVs, and then paste those to each of the other segments. And if we give this a material that looks like our alphas, we should be able to see some stuff going on here, which is perfect. This is exactly what we want. We're going to make a flower out of this. Good morning. Good morning to some new folks joining in here. And because we're making a flower, I'm trying to decide what kind of flower, what would be the easiest way to make a flower. I wonder if there's a way. Hmm. Spiky flower. That looks kind of cool. Hmm. I really do want to go with this guy. The problem is that if I suppose I could just use, we're sort of like active brainstorming here, thinking about how to make it like wide on the edges, but very, very thin on the one end. Um, or if there was a way to like do that backwards, which I guess would be making this like that. I don't think this is an example of like a moment where probably I need another brush stroke, some new brush stroke. Um, and that is a good example of one of those times. I might need to boot up the Photoshop. Let's boot up the Photoshop. I think that's the plan for the day. Photoshop, Photoshop. Doing things in Photoshop. So yeah, so the plan here is we'll make like a five-sided thing. I'm gonna give a new brush stroke to this, probably a tapered like teardrop kind of one. And then that will function as the petals for a leaf, or the petals. They're just called petals. There's no part of it that's a leaf. Yeah, just the petals will be each individual little strand popping out here. So let's pull this open and see if we've still got everything here. I might need to hook my tablet up. Boop, 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 boop. Yep, there we go. Let me hook this guy up. So yeah, some kind of new brushstroke that's tapered and teardrop-like is the next thing that we need here. All my mouse cursors disappeared. There we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. We went through and we collected a bunch of brush strokes previously, so I do imagine I will need some kind of liquefy thing going on, though. Grab that guy there, just like such. We'll liquefy him. Oh, always and forever. Got to invert the colors so that I can see what I'm doing because Photoshop likes to not ever want me to see what I'm doing. So I think, yeah, the way we'll do this is we'll create a big, huge, sort of flared out teardrop on one end, um, and then have that fade down to a pretty fine point on the other end. And then by manipulating that, we'll be able to make some pretty cool thingamadoos. Trying to decide how fat and pudgy the teardrop shape should be. Oh my goodness. It's a slow morning. Oh, wrong button. Yeah, then we'll do a little bit of correction in this center part to make it look like it hasn't been stretched into the fifth layer of oblivion. Um, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And this should work as our new teardrop kind of shape, I would think. Hit OK, invert that. That looks kind of cool. I like that guy. Image adjustments? No, I need to. How did I do it previously? Hello? Ooh, calm down. Don't know why that's happening. Let's try unplugging the tablet there. That fix anything? Nope. Okay, well, we'll just roll with it. Ooh. Give me 1 second. Photoshop doing some weird stuff here. Weird Photoshop stuff. And I find that the best way to is just to open and close Photoshop, which is irritating, which is massively irritating. Good morning to whoever is joined in here. We're restarting Photoshop because it's doing the weird behavior. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie. Back to the land of the living. Right. So, I think I'm not actually sure if I did the whole thing that I'm supposed to do last time I did this. Pull that guy in, scale him down just a tinge. That'll work just fine. And then we're going to take him, we're going to basically make him as black and white as humanly possible. I feel like I think last time I saved this out, I took the whole thing and I flattened it, but I don't actually remember. So we'll just do that again for just a moment here. Uh, Image adjustments, and then we're going to bring the levels way down to a really tight range here. somewhere in here ought to do something like that. Boom. And then same thing as before is we're going to save this real quick, or at least export it as a PNG. Um, yes. And then what we can do is we can pop back over to the Blender and see if this gives us a nice foliage leaf to work with now. So take these. Um, there we go. And I think that's doing much more along the lines of what it should be doing. So we're trying to make flowers at the moment. And our flowers, or really all of our textures, are just UV maps overlaid this set of alphas. And in so doing, by manipulating the alphas, we can do things like we can manipulate how thick or thin these are. We can change the shapes and do all sorts of stuff. So right now, the name of the game is Make Some Flowers. And what we were just making a second ago was the petal to these flowers. And I think that that's going to be one of my simple little flowers, is something along those lines. So like the previous one, we got to make all the UV layouts for it. I've already screwed up here. Uh, damn it. Let me finish modeling and going about this in the correct order here, because I'm already doing it all bass-ackwards. And I'll add in another circle, 5. That works just fine. This will be our stem that we're working with here. And I was taking a look across some other video games just a while ago at how they tend to do like little flowers, and I like that they always do them in little clusters, because I feel like that just sort of adds to the illusion of what's going on. So we're probably going to do ours in little clusters as well, so that the stem tapers just a little bit. Whoop, 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 whoop. How you all doing this morning? Shoop. Perfect. Something kind of like that. Something kind of like that for a flower. I think that'll work just fine. And then we'll make several of those, make a little cluster of them, and then that'll be our sort of like spring flower thing we got going on. Boo 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 boo. Take these down. How big should our flowers be? It's our human scale reference here. It's not a bad size for a flower, right? Visible. It works. We'll do that. I think that's going to be probably our first flower there. All right, so come down over here. We've got 2 UV maps. The first one is going to be our gradient for crazy gradient textures that we've got going on everything. And the second one is going to be our alphas for these crazy kooky alphas that we got going on. Take this, go into the alpha one specifically, because I have not done these UVs. This is the alpha. Do like this. Do. And do the thing, which is this. It needs boom, mark seam. And we'll unwrap that part. And then this, much like the last one, doesn't really matter, because we're going to be using the gradient for this one primarily, but I will put it over this just in case. This is kind of becoming my, like, we could do this, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, that works. So yeah, the plan is that most things are going to be colored using like a flat gradient. But we do need these alphas in order to create really detailed shapes in any sort of large amount. And then of course we go in and we muck it up. That's the thing to do is you always muck it up and make it different so that it's not symmetrical and perfect. Um, Take that, move it over a bit, and then like I said, we're gonna make a little cluster of these guys just because I feel like little clusters of for these flowers in particular, the ones that like do like the starburst pattern, I don't know. I feel like they just look best in the little clusters. Which I think, did I screw up again already? I did. I haven't done the gradient yet. Hold on, before I do the gradient. I should probably also do the normals before I go crazy duplicating stuff. For the gradient, this one's pretty easy, is I will take this guy here and unwrap him, scale him down, and I'll worry about that in just a moment. Take this, and then this one is fun because you can do project from, well, no, I could also just unwrap it normally. There should be another texture in here, which is the linear gradient. And if I do my material over as well, this will sort of let me see how stuff is going on here. But I'm not seeing what I want to be seeing, which is upsetting. Oh, pardon me. And good morning, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well today. Recalculate outside. Why don't I have... Why don't... Oh, because I'm dumb. That's why. Per usual. It's because I'm silly. There we go. Perfect. Well, more perfect anyway. I don't know that it's doing still what I want it to do. Can I boop boop? Does that do? Hello. If I recall, either you were in the stream the other day or there was someone who had a name that was Simon or something like that. I don't remember. If this is your first time here, welcome. I don't at all remember. And if you guys have any questions, by the way, please feel free to ask. That's been the most enjoyable part of this whole process so far. Why is everything doing what it's doing and none of it is correct? Do we know why that is? Nothing is doing what it ought to be doing. And I'm a bit miffed about it. I know why. I know why. That's why. So very, very silly. Excellent. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you made it. Today's been a morning so far. Not a good morning, not a bad morning, just a morning. I took the weekend off and am authentically just relaxed today, which is really nice. That's not how it usually tends to go. How about you? How are you doing? There we go. Perfect. Now that I know what I'm doing here, this is the gradient map. This is what we will use to color all of our flowers. And then this here is the alpha map, which should look very different if I put this on the foliage background. Perfect. That's correct. That's what that ought to be. And then I can pop this over to the alphas as well. That looks perfect. Perfect. Well, I mean, thank you. I appreciate you immensely for putting me on while you work there. I feel that. I feel that. I have never done the like online work thing where you have like somebody just working, whether it's like online or they have those like crazy study sessions that you can sign into. I've never done those, but always I would have friends over to work for exactly that reason, as it feels good to just work with someone else in the room. Linear gradient, and over here go to this, which is perfect, perfect. And then back over in this land. So yeah, I took the weekend off and I'm ready to actually make basically all the foliage and stuff today. It should go pretty quickly now that I have kind of like a pipeline figured out for it, which I'm excited for. Let's flip on these guys. Do 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 do. Align to some point way high in the sky. Perfect. And then down here, clear the sharp off of all that. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So now what we're going to do is take these and sort of scatter them around a little bit, and just muck with the various properties of these to make our little patch of flowers. I might take a split second here to look up a couple reference images of field flowers. You should always have references, and I keep deleting all mine because I'm a ninny and I think I know it, and then I forget immediately. Uh, what are those little flowers called? The ones that just have like very individualized petals? My flower vocabulary is really bad. Um, Maybe if I search for wildflowers. I'm just trying to see sort of how they like to cluster. And it looks kind of like they like to tilt a lot. Well, no, that's not true. I lied. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff going on here. Um, no, not clovers. There's like here, let me see if I can even find a picture of the kind of flower that I'm thinking of here. Uh, kind of like this. Let me see if I can find a different picture. This is kind of like what I'm thinking of. Um, is the like it's got the very individualized petals. But there's one where it's like it's the one in cartoons. You always see them like they're picking off as like he likes me not, and there's like only like five petals to it, and they're very very thin and long. I just don't know what kind of flower that is, but that's fine. That's fine. Oh, there's a little bug. But I did know at one point in time, and it sort of depends on what you want to call a modeling software or not. I do know ZBrush. I learned Maya, and I got pretty far in Maya before I was like, I really hate that program and don't want to use it anymore. Um, and I've looked at things like I when not AutoCAD, what was it called? There was like an architectural program that was made that was supposed to be like free online. Um, and I tried messing around with that for a while. I'm trying to remember what it was. SketchUp. SketchUp messed around with a bunch of different things. I always like to try out new technologies, but Blender has been just the most pleasing so far. And if you ever want to hear a fun story, I always like to talk about the history of Blender because it's kind of funky. Um, and there's a lot of reasons why it is the way it is, and why I prefer it that way, for the record, I should say. Might be just a few too many flowers. I also noticed that they have a lot of like there's a surprising amount of overlap of flowers, which I think is interesting. And then I'll go in and probably muck a little bit with the angles of some of these guys. So I imagine what I could do is if I do rotate around 3D cursor, I can do boom, cursor to selected, and then select everything up top and do this. Welcome. How's it going? We're talking about 3D programs, preferences, a kind of flower that no one knows the name of, that stuff. So I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you about a little bit about the history of Blender anyway, because it's that exact thing that the key bindings in Blender is like why I prefer Blender and why a lot of people don't prefer Blender. And it's just really amusing. So if you didn't know, uh, Blender actually started as an in-house software for like some kind. I don't even remember. It was like a uh, visual effects company, right? And Blender started as an in-house software, and it's a really, really good example of why, if you can help it, you should not try to create your own content creation software. Like if there is a game engine you can use, you should do that rather than creating an engine from scratch. And Blender is a great example because of why. So this company spent all of this time and money making this 3D graphics program that was very fast, very lightweight, and could do everything that they needed it to do. The problem is that they spent all of their resources on making this software, and then they went bankrupt because they didn't make a product, they made a software. And this software specifically was going to die with that company. But one of the lead programmers behind it was like, hey, we did make something really cool. I know it wasn't what we were trying to make, but we did make something really cool. What, like, how can I buy it from you guys? Can I do, like, is there anything I can do to essentially take this program from you? And they said yes. Well, I mean, they didn't say yes at first, but after a lot of finagling, they finally said yes, on the condition, and this was the condition that they agreed upon, and this was like a sort of radical proposal at the time, was that Blender be a eternally open source GNU general public use license, which is wild. That they were like, you can use it, but only under these terms. And essentially, what that means as a general public use license is that you can't pay for Blender ever. It will always be this way. And like you, it's so niche that like you could actually sell Blender if you wanted to. Like you could sell versions of Blender, and people of course could go get it for free wherever they wanted, but like you could also just sell the program if you wanted to. There's not really a point in doing so because it's free, but like you can sell whatever you make with it, you can sell any part of it, it can be sold. It is what it is. But staying true to a lot of those original things the company was trying to do, the company that made Blender in the very, very first place, is they wanted it to be extremely fast, no menu navigation, just all you either knew how to use the keyboard shortcuts or you didn't. And that was the thing that turned a lot of people off of Blender, I think, at the start, is the fact that if you did not know the keyboard shortcuts, you couldn't operate the program. Like it just was completely inoperable. It was the whole thing was built on keyboard shortcuts. And a lot of that is still here today, and it's part of the reason why, like, even though I can turn on a widget for doing the move, scale, and rotate, like even though I could do widgets for all of this, the whole program was made so that I don't have to. Like I can do everything without ever having to really interface with things. I can just click buttons and it works. Um, which is great. I love it that way. Hmm. Cursor. And if I pop these back over to the alpha material, we should be able to see them look kind of, yeah, that looks nice. That looks nice. Hello there, Voita? Voita Rubes? Well, hello regardless. Welcome on in. We're making assets for a game, and currently just doing it one little baby bob at a time here. I think the first thing we're starting with is these flowers. So I'll call this flower under man flower 01. Call that data underscore flower 01. And I feel like there was actually something I forgot to do with my last flower that I made, and I don't remember what that was, so I'm going to quick look back. Um, nope, everything seems fine. It might be, I should do that for this flower as well. Um, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I know some stuff I forgot to do. Whoops. Whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsie. Nope, 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 nope. Did I miss one? I did. That's all of them, yeah? Yeah. 0, 0, 100. There we go. Do that, and then the other thing is I should have two here. This should be called, I'll say stem, and I called the first one bud, if I recall, which I suppose works the same. Things that pay to remember now rather than later. I'm sad. So last week I recorded doing all of the uh oh, I remember what it was. I remember what it was. But no, last week I recorded doing all of the grass, and I did work for about 3 hours and then totally forgot to press the record button on the stream, so none of it got saved. Um, I remember what it was that I wanted to do differently. This selects all of this, and I want to have one additional material here for I'm going to call it leaf, I guess. And leaf should apply only to these two things. Yeah, so if I select it all here, this should be the bud, correct. This should be the stem, correct. And then these all should be the leaf, correct. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Those, got this. Um, okay. What else do I have on my little list of stuff that I'm making here? Uh, that's the wrong notepad. That's the wrong notepad. That's my Elden Ring notes. There we go. There we go. So we have the tulip, we have the burst, and then there's two more kinds of flowers I wanted to make. I might just make one more kind of flower and then call it there. 3 flowers feels like plenty of flowers. Yes. So the question is, do I plan on creating some foliage using shaders and just some of the really cool stuff that shaders can do? Um, I don't know if any of you have experimented at length with shaders, specifically shader math. But shader math is like the most frightening thing I have ever had to interact with. Shader math really scares me. Because shader math is a thing where it's like I'm going to take color as a number and then I'm going to multiply it by a speed, which is a direction, and then divide that by the like metallic quality of a face and then invert that by the light of something, right? And if that sounds like gibberish, it's because it almost is, but that's what shader math is like. Is your because everything boils down to just numbers in the end, and conceptually, it's really hard to like sort of follow what those numbers are doing. But you can do some really cool stuff with it. And I think probably like obviously there's a lot of shaders that my shaders will be very very simple is the answer to your question. Probably it's going to be things like changing colors dynamically, and movement and just sort of shapes. So everything can kind of like maybe grow a little bit, or like as if there's some kind of seasonal thing, like I could use a slider to change what season everything looks like. Um, but no particularly, because when you say animated shader, I might be thinking of something like very different from what you're thinking of, right? Because technically you can add something called a panner, which is just it like it scrolls a texture. That's technically an animated shader. But you can get really complicated with shaders and like do like full blown animated things. Where like you have, I don't know, your UI displayed through a shader if you wanted to. I don't know. You can get really, really complicated with it. I will be using animated shaders. I'll be going very, very simple with it. What was that? I remember what I was making. How do I want to make it though? Is the real question. Oh, I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do. No. Yes. So that I probably so specifically changing the like positions of vertices using a shader, and those are called vertex shaders. And in the Damon Change, which was the project I was doing before this, I actually was using vertex shaders for the foliage based on a tutorial that I saw. Um, I don't necessarily know that I'll be doing the same thing here, but I might. Um, but it would only be for like very specific use cases. I don't think it's something I'll use a lot of. And that's basically what I was referring to is like you can start getting really complex with shaders. Um, this guy here, I think I'm trying to think how I want. This is supposed to be like that. Was it like baby's breath or angel breath or some kind of breath thing? Where it's the little teeny flowers, but there's like a whole bunch of them, and they sort of dot a whole bunch of stuff. I realize it's a very terrible description. Let me go ahead and make my two UV maps before I get carried away here. Gradient and alpha. Um, I don't even know that I need an alpha map for this. I might not. Because if these guys are supposed to be very small, I might just be able to use just a gradient map. So I'm thinking. You know what might be cool for this? Let's go ahead and do an alpha. Um, and the idea here, I think, is we'll go like this. We'll take the gradient actually. No, oh boy, I'm having a rough time. Let's take just a flat plane. We'll take it down very small. Um, and I think the way this guy is going to work is we'll do something like that. And then probably this will be just sort of feeling it out here. Don't really have a concrete plan in mind. Because they're supposed to be very tiny, like little, very delicate little flowers. And this thing already, I think if I see 90, yeah, like that's yeah, yeah. Making flowers. So what will be cool as far as the gradient of this is concerned is let me put on that gradient map, right, and then go over into material view. So we can take just this circle around the top in the UVs. Let me put this back over here on the gradient. Take this, and this will be all smushed together, I think, as one flat color. Um, or you know what we could do? I lied. I'm gonna take these two bits. I don't know. There's not really a right answer to this. No, I'm going to take the whole thing. I'm going to smash it down over here. I'm going to scale it a bit like that and pull this all the way over to white. And then this guy will be unwrap, boom, doom, like that, that. Uh, yeah, that's our cute little flower there. Kind of. Looks blocky as hell. That's fine. That's how it's supposed to look. This is intentional. I know what I'm doing. Take this, unwrap, and then we'll make our stock. Turn it like this. Yeah, yeah. So we got this sort of thing going on. Um, and I was gonna give the stem an alpha, but I don't even necessarily know that I will. Let's see here. The idea behind this guy is it's also a cluster like the other one that I did just a moment ago, but this one is like a really tight, small cluster. Um, and I'm thinking about putting the stem on a UV or on a. I should do that. I'm going to. I realize you're getting to hear like a lot of my mental thinking and none of the actual explanation or anything that goes behind it, and I'm so sorry. This whole bit up here, go to the alphas. This here, we could take this whole thing, just slap it right in here because it doesn't really matter. But for this guy, he will go on this one. Yeah. So the stem looks a little ephemeral. Because I don't want to use anything more than a plane for it. And so by doing it this way, a bit of what you know what I should do is I should take this and I should eh, 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 so that we have goodness. Okay, yeah. So the plan is that the top is going to be handled only through the gradient. There's not going to be an alpha on that, and then the bottom is going to be handled with an alpha and a gradient. And then the goal is again to make the little like angel breath or whatever it's called flowers. And then those I feel traditionally come in like a little cluster, a really tightly knit little cluster, thing like that. So take all of these, give them random rotations to 360 degrees or 180, I guess that's fine. Um, and then we'll give them all slightly different lengths. Like that, and then we'll move them all kind of into a really tight little cluster here. And actually, I think what I want to do is kind of like move them forwards and then rotate them out like this. Does that make sense? I should probably rotate them via the 3D cursor. No, 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 no. I lied. Median, or where's individual origins? There we go. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, yeah. That's the plan. Yeah, a little cluster of little flowers. And probably like I'm assuming because this is about how far away you'll be making this. Oh, OBS is telling me something is going wrong. I don't know what is going wrong. Oh, it's going to tell me a whole bunch of stuff that's going wrong. Oh, interesting. Okay. I That's too much information for all this. That is too much information. Okay, close that. We don't need to mess with that right now. If anything is going weird or terrible, I'm going to trust you guys before I trust OBS telling me that it's weird. All right, so this is my little dinky danky thing of flowers. Join those all together. Reset its origin to the 3D cursor. And the very last thing is to just make sure that we've got our normals doing what they're supposed to do on all of my little flower buds here. Is that all of them? Looks like it. Boop. Oh, why is that angled so strangely? There we go. There we go. Perfect. And then we'll call that, what am I on? Flower 2? Mesh underscore flower 02. And this will be our last flower. Data underscore flower 02. Next. Well, we've got plenty of that going on here, so do enjoy. Oh, you know what I didn't do? You know what I didn't do is I didn't do the thing again. These guys are all going to be of that bud, a sign, and then I'm going to select everything else and give it a new material, which we'll call stem and a sign. Now we're good to go. Okay, so we've got some flowers done. We've got grass done. We've done these little clovers. I think the next thing I want to make is pampas grass, pampas grass, which should be popping out of these guys. So let's see what that looks like. How tall? I think perennial grasses can be like a whole bunch of different size. I don't care if you guys see my that this many internet tabs is like way few. I've got so many freaking tabs open. This is not very many tabs. I'm so sorry that this is what my life is. And please beware because we're going on to Google Images, so who knows what we could find. So I am making a I don't know there's a number of the party games like there's I know there's Party Animals, there's Stick Fight, Fall Guys, a party game's kind of like that, but it's an online. I don't want to call it a battle royale, but basically you have random online teams doing a sort of combative party game, and then the rules are loosely based off of, and I mean very loosely based off of a combination musical chairs and dodgeball. I know that may not necessarily sound like it makes sense, but I actually have a video somewhere on the channel. It has the same thumbnail as this stream, and that video sort of goes over like what the whole plan for the game is. I could probably find a link to that for you in just a moment. But yeah, it's supposed to be just a fun, light multiplayer battle game. That's the goal. Um, Pampas grass. It's huge. I wonder. So someone a minute ago was talking about. Let me see if I can show you something here. Someone was talking about using animated shaders and just sort of what shaders can do, and specifically like vertex shaders. Um, and they're really cool, but they break my brain a little bit. Imagine, and I'm going to try and explain like some of the stuff that you can do. So imagine that I've got this plane here, right? That I can put an image on this plane. What vertex shaders allow you to do is they allow you to take this plane and then do things with it that aren't that change its fundamental position, right? So let's say I've got this here, for example, right? I could make a shader that takes whatever image is on it and moves it this far away from wherever the plane is, right? So you take this one plane that has an image, and I could take all of those individual planes and I could lift them off of their thing. So you could create this sort of like exploding square effect, right? And then I could do even more things with that. Is I could change it, and I could do I could rotate it. I could make it be different colors. I can do all sorts of things to these planes, even though I'm not like fundamentally changing the mesh. The shader is changing how it's rendered. And what I'm thinking for this pampas grass is I'm not quite sure how I want to create this fluffy effect because fluffy things are hard in games. Making things look fluffy in the world of 3D is actually really, really hard. And there's a bunch of different ways to try it and do that. But one of the ways I could do it is by taking like a shape and then expanding each face of that shape with an image past its own bounds. So you get basically a bunch of overlapping stuff. And that could maybe create this. I don't know. But I know what I think I want to try, and I want to try something basically really similar to that flower that we did for the pampas grass. So I don't know how this will look, but this is what I'm going to try here. So I'll make a plane. Um, I'll go into edit RX90. I realized there was a whole bunch of word vomit that didn't really like equate to anything. Um, and the thought process is, oh, what if I use, okay, hold on. I have an idea. Give me my alphas. Uh, Unwrap it. I'm just gonna take the whole thing. What if I do something like that? That might be a way to do it. Hmm. Or, hmm. Hmm. What does this look like if I move it over this? What does pampas grass look like? I don't know. I don't know what the plan is because this is what I would like is this sort of like one of the issues is that the grass makes this very specific shape, but it only makes this shape when it's blowing in the wind, right? So like here, all of the like leaves, fern, fluff stuff is all going in one direction, which is like really iconic, but it only does that when it's in the wind. When it's not in the wind, it creates this super rounded thing. And I think I kind of have to like decide how I want to do, like if I want it to be rounded or if I want to try and have a wind effect built in. And I don't really know what the right answer to that is. I think probably what I'll do is just be kind of lame with it. I know that may sound a bit gross and weird, but I think that might be the play to do. Um, if I scooch this, okay, I know what I'm gonna try. I know what I'm gonna try. Boom. We'll do this real quick and we'll see how it goes here. So I'm gonna do a plane, RX90, uh, Z, do, boom. Um, so we have this. Each of these should look something like. Copy UVs, paste UVs, take this whole thing. Not necessarily ideal, but I'll take it. Take this, move that down, and then, and here's the thought, is I'll take, because I can do extra things with this, is I can take like a bunch of guys like this, and I can scale them out, make them kind of fat in the middle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a final extra plane at the top, like such. And this guy in particular is going to be just this sort of rounded one we made. Um, and this is the plan here. I can't tell if that looks terrible or not. Certainly doesn't look quite like pampas grass, that's for sure. If I pull him down, pull him out? No, pull him in. Maybe, maybe. Something like that. We'll have to see how this looks in Unreal. Yeah, let's probably go with this, take the whole thing, pull it over to Unreal, and see how it looks. Because it might look fine, it might look terrible. No one really knows. And that's a lot of the part of the process here, is that I don't fully know what this is supposed to look like. But I do know it's supposed to look like something. Okay. Today's a chillax creative day, not a know exactly what you're doing sort of day. All right. File, export, FBX. Hold that thought. It should be. There we go. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Which, give me a second just to go through and do the stuff. And then where is... All right. So these were the flowers that we made last time. And let's go ahead and pop in, bring in something new. That's definitely correct. That's definitely... Oh, I know what's wrong. Um, them? No. Bud? Nope. Let's go into this guy. UV 0. And we've got two distinct colors. That's not really what I want for the grass. Let's just say all of the grass is pink, and instead of pink, it's actually that sort of pampas grass kind of color. Let's see how that does. Oof. Now the lighting is a bit janky, but that's not as terrible as I thought it might be. I don't know that it's great. Do we have like a cast shadow on somewhere that's not supposed to be on? Is there a cast shadow that we can turn off? Probably foliage in here. Line to normal. No, it's not casting shadows. So why does it look terrible? That's probably why. That's probably why. Um, let's do that and just see how it looks. That should fix it. I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts or input on the rowdy pampas grass? Because in theory, you're not going to be walking through a field of it like this. In theory, this is like one thing at the end of a stalk that's occasionally dotted in the. Oh, the FBX crashed. That's always a good sign. Um, yeah, you'll have like a couple of these dotted in huge, thick patches of grass every so often. Why is it doing that, I wonder? It should be not that way. File, export, try it again. Make sure I'm not crazy. Re-import. Yeah, that is it. Let me just also try um, erasing that real quick and also painting it again, making sure that cast shadow is off. Yeah, it's still doing that. Weird, weird shading. Don't know why. Also, are these... Oh, you gonna make it? Oh, that's also very weird. It crashed. Love it. Okay. I think here's an important sort of design lesson for you at the moment. Fun. No, skip restore. We don't mind. We don't mind. So, there's a thing where like it's really easy to spend a lot of time. Like I could spend a lot of time troubleshooting this and figuring out how to get it like doing all the stuff I feel like it should be doing and want it to do, and so on and so forth. But the caveat is that I don't necessarily know that that would be time well spent, considering the other stuff that I have planned to do today. And sometimes just that something exists in some form or another is way more valuable than it being like perfect, you know? So I think we're just going to call this the pampas grass and move on from there. I don't think I'm going to try and mess with this much more. So we'll make this into one sort of nice consolidated thing. Make something out of it, and then that will be all we have for the day for the pampas grass. We can revisit it later, and that's the important thing. Um, no, I'll add in a circle, which we'll say is 6 scale pull this up. Um, yeah, sometimes it's more important for something to exist than for something to be good. Remember that. Okay. And then we'll take this guy. Do. I realize again that I have not done this properly. It's okay. Seam, unwrap, quick throw that right here. That'll work fine. Alpha. And then this one I can call gradient. And this one I can actually do just a flat. Uh, yeah. You project from view, and we'll just do it real simple. Like since we're going to be revisiting later, and we're just trying to get it done for now. And then last but not least is I'll give it my 2 material slots. I will call this the bloom. And that shall be for everything except the stock, the sign, and then one more that I can call the stock. And that's for all of this, a sign. Perfect. And we'll say mesh underscore campus 00, and we'll figure out more about how we're going to do this. This is where some shader nonsense might be really useful. We'll see. I just thought of another way I could maybe do this. I was nervous about this one, and I don't think I know quite what I'm going to be doing for it, but that's okay. What's next on the list? We're just making assets out the butt today. Leaves and bushes. I think it's time for leaves and bushes. And actually, when we get maybe like we'll say we'll do 2 trees. We'll do 3 trees, 2 bushes, and then the rest of the day will just be level design. And I think that's what we're gonna do. I think that'll be a good way to do it. There will be a chunk of material making in Unreal, but for the most part, it'll be level design. Yes, that's what I'm thinking here. Okay, so let's make some trees. Uh, if you did not know, I'm sure a number of people have mentioned tree it or different ways to make trees in Unreal. I personally like using the skin modifier. That's my preferred way of doing it, is because it gives me a lot of control over each of the little bits and bobs that I'm doing here. So we'll show you how it works. So I have one vertex, and I apply first a subdivision surface modifier, and then a skin modifier, and then another subdivision surface modifier. And what that gives me is this little tiny orb that I can pull bits out of, and every time I pull a new bit, it'll snake up and create stuff like this. So we're going to make a couple different trees, and this is going to be our tree making stuff. Words are not with me today. I'm still tired. It's still early in the morning here. Mhm, 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 mhm. How about you guys? What are you all working on out there? What's going on in the land of the chat? Yeah, that's tree-like, right? Got our scale reference here. And I'm excited to show you guys the leaves because I think that will do a lot and sort of be an interesting process. I haven't seen anyone do leaves quite this way before. Did I rant to you guys about Stylized Station? Stylized Station is just, it exists. There's a YouTube channel called Stylized Station, and its whole thing is trying to spread the sort of enjoyment of graphics for video games, which is great. I think that is a fantastic thing to do. I'm glad that they are doing that. But it drives me nuts because I don't feel make particularly compelling stuff. I feel like a lot of their stuff is like very sort of standard Disney. Like they saw Genshin Impact and they cite Genshin Impact like constantly, which is cool because it's a very beautiful game. But also like there are other things you can do stylistically out there, and I'm just sad that they never really explore those. They're like, let's do stylized stuff, and this is what stylized means. Um, and there's a lot more that can be done than just those things. So basically, I don't know. I'm excited to get to some things like these trees because I don't know that I've seen it done the way I intend on doing them very often. Uh, there's definitely going to be a lot of work that could probably be streamlined with a script or something, though. I don't have the time to make that. So right now, again, just using the subdivision skin and then subdivision surface modifier again in order to make branches for my tree. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that looks about fine, right? Okay, cool. So going back, we're gonna do a couple different things. Man, I really am bummed. So the other day I did a thing with using geometry nodes in order to make grass spread out over concentric rings to make like thickets. And that came out really well. You can see, like, if I hide this guy real quick, you can see just a lot of those grass thickets came out really well. And they mesh really well together when put into Unreal Engine. Um, Basically going to be doing a very, very similar thing here is creating a bunch of thickets of leaves. The leaves are just going to be the brushstrokes that we made. And I don't know. Hopefully it'll come out well. Oh, but something I didn't mention. Each thicket is going to be its own like spherized set of leaves. Because one thing I see a lot of people do is that they'll take all of the leaves and set their normals all together at the same time. And that works great from like a really long distance, but breaks down when you start to get really close to it. So we're going to essentially just not do it that way. Um, and I think we'll do like a thicket here, a bigger thicket here, one big thicket on top, maybe not quite that big, maybe a lot smaller. Yeah, something like that. We'll do another one over here, kind of small. And then another one over here, kind of big. So this will be sort of what our tree looks like, just in terms of shading, right? So from a distance, the shading will look kind of like this. Um, go into sculpt mode, redo all the stuff here. This is a thing that I was talking earlier about local view. This is a thing that local view is really, really good for, is I just want to work on this one thing for a second, and like I can go back and forth between seeing all of them and just this. And local view, if any of you are using Blender. Um, it's numpad slash is local view. So very useful shortcut sometimes, very irritating shortcut other times. There's a question in chat: how do I feel about using free or cheap pre-made assets? Um, and the answer is I feel mixed about it. I have very mixed feelings about using things that have already been built for me. And there's a few reasons for it. It's not that like it's bad. Um, One of the first things is just a question of like copyright and general like ownership. Is if I make something, no one can argue with me over who owns it, right? Because I do, because I made it. So that's already a big deal in my book. Is just making sure that I can say yes, I'm the one who owns the thing because I made it. And if you have any arguments with me, then by all means. So that's a big deal. Another thing about pre-made assets is that it's also there's a lot of time and energy that has to be spent into going through and finding assets that actually match whatever your needs are. And sometimes that can be really, really, really hard to do. Sometimes it can be really hard. Like if you're looking for a very specific thing, it can be really hard to find just anything that suits your need for whatever the thing it is you're creating, right? So for these trees, for example, I could probably very easily use trees. I could even use I'm sure tree assets from Quixel Bridge, which is a built-in thing that Unreal has that lets you use like crazy high mega scanned assets. Um, I could probably very easily use that and a bunch of other things, but the whole thing with like those assets is even though they're free, they just don't suit the need that I need them for. Like if I'm trying to create this stylized environment, I would have to do almost as much work as making from scratch just to go in and fix the thing. Um, so that's another big reason. And I think the last one is also just in terms of like making a portfolio and showing off what you can do. It's pretty rare to find a person who can do art and programming and sound and all of the stuff at the same time. Like that's not a very common trait. And so it's also fun to just be like, cool, what was your involvement in this process for this game? And the answer is like all of it. Me. That's I made the whole thing. Um, and that feels pretty good at the end of the day as well. So not opposed to using pre-made assets, especially if they're available and especially if they like suit the need you need them for right off the get. Um, but on the whole, I prefer to do things like this. Alrighty. So what we're going in and doing right now is just creating volumes for the tree to distribute our leaves. And also, the cool thing that I'll be able to do with this is transfer all of the normal data from each of these shapes to their individual clusters of leaves, um, which is really cool. And if it ends up working, it's just not a method I've seen a lot of people do on YouTube or anything. That's fine. I don't want to spend too much time on this. There we go. This will be our first tree. A bit worried about the size of this guy. Yeah, this will be our first tree. Okay. So like I say, unfortunately, like there's definitely a script you could write to make all of this go much faster and much smoother. But I don't want to write that script. So I'm just gonna do it by hand here, which is a bit unfortunate. However, I do believe that we can get through it here. So I'm gonna take. Oh, sorry, I'm missing something. I am missing a thing. I'm gonna hide all of this real quick, and I'm going to make the shape that is going to be what our leaves look like. So we'll take this whole thing here, unwrap it. I'm going to give it the alphas thing. And I think I want our starting leaves to look something like this. I think this is a particularly nice sort of leaf that we'll be doing here. I like this guy a lot. So that's just one big brush stroke. And I'm going to probably do this to it, which is I'm going to cut it in half in this direction. Pull this guy up like such. Pull this guy up just a little bit. So we have a kind of a curved thing going on here. And then I'm going to scooch it down just sort of like that. So this is going to be our leaf. And I will quick duplicate it and then flip my normals so it can be seen from both sides. And I'll rename this leaf for now. Perfect. Now we can hide that guy and we can go back to working on these guys. Technically, I don't need to see the tree. I will rename this tree for the moment. Um, and then all of these do their stuff. So, geometry nodes and doing some cool stuff. I'm going to take this first one here. We're going to come down and I'll use this geometry nodes. Boop, 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 boop. And I don't think I need any of this, and if it's all the stuff I needed, I'll just do it again. So mesh to volume, points in volume, instance on points, and then we'll do translate instances. And I don't think I need to do, oh, we'll also do a scale instances. And then lastly, we'll do realize instances. And then we'll plug all of that into our output. And now, if I go and I take the leaf and I grab the leaf and I shove it right into here, what we should see is something like this, which is perfect. Um, Going to take the scale down to something like 0.5, 0.35. Yes, and that's going to be about the size of my leaves. And I know that seems huge, but I'm realizing using these brush strokes that the bigger kind of the better. Um, so that's nifty. Um, Points in volume, we'll take that number up. And then rotation, we'll do whoa. We'll do this. Ah. Oh no. Why did it all go dark? I've never had that happen before. Can I still muck around with it? No, I've hidden something. What did I do? Done something I've never done before. Well, it doesn't matter. We can undo it. That's the important thing. We'll do random value. We'll make this a vector. We'll take this, plug it into here, um, like such. Um, and then I think on all of them, we'll do tau. Oh, I guess it needs to be from 0 to tau. Yeah, there we go. And then that's going to be kind of our assortment of leaves. We're going to do something extra to this, which is we're going to take the normal information from the original shape we made and then sort of imprint it onto the normals of all of these like leaves. But for the most part, that's we're here. Um, and actually, yeah, yeah. And basically, we're going to do this a couple times here. So if I take this one, I should be able to just give it the geometry nodes that I was using just a moment ago, which is this one. And I'll actually rename this to leafage. And then each of these should be able to just plop in just like that. Leafage. Leafage. One thing I'm noticing is that they are of different scales because I scaled the spheres originally. I don't know that I actually mind that very much. In fact, it's kind of nice. No, I think I do mind that a little bit. Oh, do I? I don't know. Maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe it's not a bad idea. Have this one have the big leaves and then everything else. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I do want to come in though, and I want to take more random values, and I want to do random values for the translation of these, and I want to do random values for the scale. So, plugging this into scale up here, I want the random scale to be from 0.75 to 1.25. That's maybe a bit massive. Uh, that's so much bigger. Why is that so much bigger? Oh, not local space, global space. It actually, I guess if it's doing it from local space, then I would not want this to be one. I would want this to be like, so do something like that. No, I can make this lower. We'll do zero point 0.2 to something like that. No, it's a bit too sparse. That's a bit too sparse. That'll work fine. That will work fine. And then the translation is anywhere from negative zero point 0.5 to positive zero point 0.5. We'll hook that up and it should move around quite a bit. And this is just to make it so that it's less clear that the leaves are um, confined to very specific shapes. Now they can sort of like bleed over into each other, which is cool. I might even do -1. Oh, that's a bit too chaotic. No. Let's try negative 0.75 to positive 0.75. Negative point. Oh my goodness, 0.75. Typing is hard too. To 0.75. Um, no, no, I like I think just half is plenty. I did used to work for a game studio, but it wasn't like we made augmented reality games. So it wasn't like console games or PC games or things that you would really hear about on the TV. It was a whole like facility we had locally in town. Question was, did I used to work for a studio? And I did, just not probably the kind that you're thinking of. Perfect. So with this, if I recall now, because I haven't done this in a hot minute, so there might be a bit of experimentation involved here, is I'm going to take just this big one on the top and I'm going to see if I remember how to do it or how I was doing it the other day. So I'll take this, I'm going to duplicate it, and on one of these, I'm going to get rid of my modifier so that we can see its original shape versus the leaves that are being going to be imprinted on it. And the thing is that I want on the leaves, I want to apply this leaf modifier, and I want to add in a new geometry node that is edit the normals. It should be normals. Normal edit. I think no, 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 no. It was data transfer. That's right. Data transfer from our ball replace, and the thing that we're transferring is the vertex. No, is oh, I'm trying to remember. Thank you, thank you. Custom normals, is that yes. Did they no, because this is it's different now. Welcome back. And is there a reason why I'm not seeing it? Because I feel like I should be seeing it. Or am I seeing it? I'm just not realizing I'm seeing it. I think that's it, right? Face data, smooth. Because this is Blender 4.0. Um, and I haven't done it in Blender 4.0 because it should be under face data and it should be this. This is what it should be. But it doesn't look right. Face corner data. Did this one need to have auto smooth? Which one needs auto smooth? There we go. Okay. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. Uh, nearest face. That looks a little janky. That looks a little janky. Yeah, the leaves have auto smooth on. The thing though is that the leaves also are double-sided. So, if I'm not mistaken, that might be part of what's causing it to be a little strange looking. Now, these are the options here, down in the lower right. Um, there's topology near. So, what we're trying to do is back in Blender 3 point series, what you could do is you could easily, like, there was literally an option for transfer data or data transfer, and then it would be custom normals, and then you just say the faces are what I want. But these menus are not quite the same, and it does not seem to be under face data. Like there is a face data option, but maybe it should be near. I don't know. Can I turn off face corner data? Is it face data or is it face corner? Because face corner has the normals option. Worst case scenario is I'll export it a couple times and see and do some experimentation to figure out what it is exactly that is the effect I'm trying to get. But what you can do, and what we're going to do some experimenting to try and figure out, is I can take this big old bundle of leaf cards that we've made, which looks sort of like this, and I can transfer the normal data of that weird sort of amorphous blob that we made onto the leaves so that the leaves are shaded the same way that blob would be shaded. And it's going to make it really nice. And by doing that to each blob, you'll have these giant clusters of leaves that have really, really nice shading data that's not just a static sphere. I could just do a static sphere, but I don't want to. And then there was a question, it was like, well, what style am I going for? And the answer is kind of a hybrid painterly fantasy style. So for the painterly style, it's weird because some things are going to be painted and some things are going to be like fully modeled. So it's hard to explain a particularly concise description here. But let me grab this for a second here. I'm going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to export just these leaves and see what that looks like. I might actually also. So it is doing something. I'm gonna try nearest corner and best matching face normal on the face corner data. Face data. Hmm. We'll just try them both ticked on. So I'm gonna apply this real quick and then see what that results in. So give me just a second here. So boom, 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 boom. That's the wrong one. There we go. And let's try bringing in this guy again. That's fine. I knew that was gonna happen. Um, give me. Oh boy, I should have thought that through before I did that. Give me a second to get rid of a couple of these. Boo boo boo, and we'll drag in just one. And then I also need to make sure that this has the correct uh, buds. Come over here into bud. This should probably be 0. And then I will use the. That should be fine. So yeah, so these are the leaves. Um, Where's my light source? Where's my light source? I do remember. No, I have not checked out your game yet. I actually did something which I don't normally do, which is I took the weekend literally to just mentally relax. That's not something I normally do. So I just chilled out and watched movies and cooked, which is great. I like cooking. I don't normally do it for myself because I'm always trying to run off and do something else. I don't need to go. I can just go right into this object. If I've applied it, I can just go right in here and see what the normals are doing myself. I don't have to do this whole thing. Um, they are all certainly facing outwards. Um, yeah, it's in the Discord, and I actually can real quick here. If you guys want a link to the Discord, I will send that to you as well. Um, boop, badoop, boop. And there's a link to the Discord if it interests anyone. So yeah, so I can go directly into here, and I should be able to see with all of this turned on exactly what it's transferring here, right? So if I do, okay, yeah, so that's not the here. Let me turn off face data. First, let's see if face data even does projected face interpolated nearest face. Um, this, oh, I've unhid way too much. Right. Okay, so this guy should be, we can take some mental notes here, right? Is that just looking top down is we've kind of got like ball, ball, ball. So that's kind of what it should look like, right? So we've got kind of ball, ball, ball. This nearest corner and best matching face normals. This is splitting my edges of each face, it looks like. Because I've got two vertices right here. So what I want is for that nearest face interpolated so that it combines all of those faces. And I think if I turn off face corner data and turn on face data, this just doesn't really do anything. Yeah, okay, so it is face corner data, it's custom normals, and I think nearest face interpolated. I need to make notes for this. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think that's correct. Um, no, because if you do nearest corner, like it's just nearest face interpolated. Um, which is funny because like these both have like normals and they're specifically talking about normals, but I think nearest face interpolated is the one. Um, yeah. So Blender very recently graduated to Blender version 4.0, which is very exciting, but also it means that like stuff has been shifted around slightly. So it's always a fun game of like what the hell is has happened now to everything else. Um, yes, 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 yes. And I think that's it. I don't think I need to do anything else. Topology? No. What? What is this? No, we're gonna go with this. Trying to... That's awesome. So let me try applying that file, export FBX, this, and let's see how that does. Oh my goodness. Over in the Yonderland, re-import. It's a little bit better. There's still some funky stuff going on. If it doesn't look like, let me see one last thing. Just make sure that this is um make sure that these guys are all doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yep, that looks correct. Oh, you know what part of the problem is I've only done this to one thing, which might actually be that might explain most of. Well, no, because it's just no, never mind. What I thought might be a solution is not a solution. Oh, you know what also is I may not, speaking of tangents, I may have not set that in the export settings. Um, where's the button? Hmm. Also, is there anything else that could be going on strangely here? Probably quite a bit that could be going on strangely, but part of it could also be, hmm, let me try one additional thing. And like I said earlier, is that there's a degree of just sometimes you need to like say, well, as long as I have it, that's more important than it actually necessarily working the way I'd intended for it to. Um, so I might also give that a quick try and just see what that looks like. Boom, boom, boom. Live troubleshooting. This, at the very least, will see if we are still having the two-faced problem with things, which we are. So that, I'm not too certain what's causing that. Um, because that does look kind of like some kind of Z fighting issue. But we weren't having it with all the other stuff. Or were we? I don't remember. Yeah, let me try. So there's another option to try here, which is rather than using double-sided faces in Blender, is I can use. Let's go ahead and delete this guy real quick. And give this guy a geometry nodes, and we'll give it our leafage, which is perfect. So we have the exact same thing that we had before. I'm going to go to my leaf example here. Wherever that is. I keep turning everything on, and that's irritating. finished development, leaf. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select just one of these guys. We'll select the other one, vertices, and delete that. So this is what we have instead. And I think while I'm here, we'll do that. So we'll do that for a moment here, and then we'll go back to our sphere here, this guy, and we'll do the exact same thing again. So delete, copy him real quick, hide this guy. He doesn't need to have a modifier on him. Boop, boop. And then on this one, we shall apply the modifier. And let's try just one more time. Let's do edit data transfer. We'll select this guy and then do the face corner data, custom normals. Yeah, we'll apply that and then we'll just export it and see how that looks. And we'll make it a double-sided material in Unreal and see what happens. Will it work? Will it not work? I don't know. Hopefully it works. So over here, re-import this. That should look like there's a lot fewer of them. And we're not getting, there's still some of the striping, but not nearly as much, which is nice. And then if I take this material and make this a two-sided material and hit apply, yeah, that makes the shadows, and part of that is it, oh, and then multiply your normals. I don't know if I want to do all of that. In part because almost everything is going to be using instances of a single material, and I don't know if I want to have a whole new material. I don't have to necessarily use a whole new material, but that would be tricky to implement into things as they are planned already. Debate, 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 debate. Let me try one last thing. Let me try one last thing. Is before we do all of that stuff, let's... Cool, so we still have our leafage. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something a little strange here, which is I'm going to go back to my leaf. Give me but a moment to try something. Clicking buttons. Clicking buttons indeed. Hmm. Let me try just that. And depending on how it looks, I might just move on because I don't want to spend too long on each of these various little bitty bobs. Re-import and then go turn off double-sided, two-sided. And that works just about just fine, oddly enough. Right? Yeah, man. And then the noise there is just Lumen doing Lumen things, uh, which is both a blessing and a curse. But that works just about fine. So that's the process we'll do. I should quick make sure that the each leaf is also laid out on a what do I do by the way? Nearest corner of nearest face. Um, Need to also make sure that each leaf, there we go, is also laid out a certain way. Anyway, sorry. So trees will be up in just a moment here. Looking at the leaf, the other thing I need to make sure is that this is already laid out with one alpha for um how do I'm trying to remember how I did this. I did this a few days ago to get it ready for how I was going to do it today, and I don't remember anything. No, 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 no. I don't need to do it here. I need to do it up here. Um, yes, yes, yeah. This I can just apply, and then we go to edit, data transfer, right, right, right. From number 5, face corner data, custom normals, nearest corner of nearest face, and then we'll apply that. And we're just going to do that for each of these objects real quick. So I can get rid of that now. Um, we'll take this one, duplicate it. On the duplicated one, we'll get rid of the geometry node there. So here on this guy, apply, and then we'll do the data transfer. And like I say, this is a thing where a script would be super useful right now, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. So going through for each of these bobules and basically going through the same process is make a duplicate, copy it, and then we're going to copy over the normal data each time. Um, Edits data, this guy. Space, boom, ba-doom. Uh, Boof. We can get rid of him. And then the last one here. Uh, okay, perfect. So we got that. Pull in our tree. And then what we've got here is I can take all of these and I can join them together. Go into our edit mode just like such. And the cool thing here is, what am I looking for? UV maps, going to UV editing here. So these are currently all of our leaves for the alphas. And I'll do this and I'll rename this alpha. Then we can do in another thing, which I'll call this my gradient. For the gradient, we can take literally everything and we can just project from view. And that's going to create this huge mess that is not very attractive. But what it does do, and what I can do with it, is I can, since basically everything in this game is textured with a gradient, one gradient, I can take this whole thing and stretch it out along that gradient to make essentially a nice like bottom to top gradient for everything. The alpha can remain as is. That is fine. And then for the tree, we'll simply take the tree, apply all of its modifiers in order there, and then combine the tree and the leaves together. And then that should equal mesh underscore tree 00. So maybe we'll just do one tree today. I think one tree might be enough. We'll do this data underscore tree 00. I will quick add in, because I forgot, that all of this will call the trunk, which I don't think I have yet. So we'll make a new one called trunk. And then we'll add in, and this will be that. And then we'll make a new one called leaf. And that will be these guys. Cool. So with that like that, let's check that out, throw that over into Unreal and see how it's working. FBX, just this one Bibby Bob. Re-import. And it should be super broken, and that's okay. One part of the process at a time. Perfect. Oh, you know what? Are all the normals for this probably inverted for no good reason whatsoever? No. Okay. So we'll call this leaf, and we'll rename this to trunk. And then over here in the object data itself, save in case it crashes. This is leaf. No, this is trunk. This is leaf. And now we can edit and make these as they ought to be. So the leaves for their opacity mask are using UV1, which is great. Their color is something much more pleasing than what it currently is. And I can actually use this to blend between the two of these guys. This and a dark, sort of almost blue-green. Apply. So now we got our leaves doing more leafy type things, except I'm doing it in the wrong direction here. There we go. Perfect. And there is extra noise that we're going to be able to add into this. And then for the trunk, that guy can use just a single sort of browny color. Bloop. It should use 0 and should not have any world position offset. Actually, it shouldn't have an opacity mask. I lied. Yeah. So there's our tree. In terms of figuring stuff out, actually, well, oh, there's another thing that I didn't do. I don't know if I ever actually turned smoothing back on, and that might be a bit problematic. Yes. That might actually be the entire problem right there. Let's find out. I'm so sorry. I've been in my head for like a hot minute here, and I realize I'm maybe not talking quite as much as I should be. That might have been most of the problem, is just that I didn't have smoothing turned on, which I know sounds a bit weird, but maybe not. I don't know. But I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. Just the tree as it currently stands. You have nice complex shadows. It does sort of what it needs to do. I will need to make a like look through. So one of the things that is in a lot of games is if the camera is like interrupted by certain objects, you don't have this happen. You can actually see through and still see your character. So I will need to do that at some point, as well as hitboxes and stuff, so that you can actually collide with the trees. But for the moment, this is probably fine. And we might only just do one tree because I really want to get to making some levels and other stuff that can happen. Um, because I want there to be more than just this. Okay. Okay. Um, Probably make just a bush. So we've got the tree, we've got flowers, we've got grass. Um, is there anything else that I want to make specifically to experiment around with? Thank you. Um, there's some things going a little funky with it. It's part of it is that I'm also not sure how much troubleshooting I want to do with you guys live on stream. Because again, I get nervous about it. That's one of the things that can take hours just to find a little tick box that should have been ticked on somewhere that wasn't. It's not that this looks bad. It's just that it doesn't quite do maybe all the things I want it to. It also very well could just be that this is not necessarily like if I just shift over the so going back into Blender, right? If I come over here and I look at my UVs and I go to the UVs for my alpha specifically, um I can easily and immediately change what this whole tree looks like by just putting this over a different leaf, right? If I were to put this over just any one of these other options here, which I don't know, let's give it a quick try, is under your materials here, make the leaves be the alphas just so I can see for a moment. Let's grab this whole thing and just move it over here for just a second. Right? So, I'm already amazed at how different that looks. So file, export, FBX. Right? This tree could look just infinitely better now. I still am just not a fan of how some of the lighting is happening. And that could be due to just a number of things. But I don't know. That actually, I like that quite a bit. Hmm. Anyway, things to play around with later. That's the point. You're doing fine. It's yelling at me again. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll worry about it later. This will do good for now. Um, I don't even know that I want to go through the process of doing a bush. I'm pretty okay with how things are currently. Um, I might want to take like that. But we'll go ahead and take the assets that we have and we'll run with them. I think that's the thing we'll do. And then basically go through and start making some of the materials we'll need. I'll go ahead and leave this guy like this for now. I'll do some troubleshooting probably tomorrow. So I'm planning on streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then it'll be usually on the Tuesdays and Thursdays that I do a lot of the troubleshooting to figure out why nothing works the way it's supposed to. um, but we'll take our clovers, our flowers, our pampas grass, and our trees, and we'll work with that for now. Oh, I should make a rock. Rocks, I feel like add a lot in general, and I want to make just a quick rock of some kind. Um, or do I? Or do I? Do I just want to do a rock later? I'll do a rock later. So I'm going to take specifically this whole folder and everything in it. And we'll go to File, Export FBX, do specifically the selected objects in the active collection, and I'm going to do this as double-sided underscore foliage. Um, having all them good settings on. And now, if I come back into Unreal, I should be able to go into my Assets folder, Meshes, and let's import just what we made there. Hold on one second. Foliage. I'm realizing there's a few things I didn't do, but again, that's troubleshooting for later. Build nanite. Um, the vertex colors are something I didn't do a tremendous amount of. Oh, and I need to change back the tree. Flower has some nearly zero tangents, which can create issues. I'm assuming that's where like a lot of the stuff was going a little strange. But that's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind. So we should have a bunch of new assets. Let me go back to this tree real quick, and this instead of saying alpha should say leaf. Um, do, and then file export FBX. This one. And then we'll re-import the tree. And it's going to say yes. Yes. No? What did you just do? Yeah, no. Okay, cool. All right, time to make a couple fun textures or materials, and then figure out how we're going to move on from there. So let me get rid of this guy for the moment, and I'll drag one of each object out into the world. Um, boop, 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 boop. Perfect. So these are all of our objects, and now let's start making that master material here, or at least one of our big materials. So mat underscore foliage master. Perfect. Um, so let's do a couple different things. Get our UV coordinates. What is it called? No, texture coordinates. Texture coordinates. There we go. So we've got that. I've got uh, linear gradient. I'm gonna need a bunch of those. I'm gonna need several of these guys. So these are oh, and then the other thing, sorry. So this is another thing that's really, really cool about how this whole process is being done. I lied. I don't need this. Um what I do need is in my textures here, um assets, textures. Uh, maybe under materials. Trying to figure out where I should organize things in my files. So I'm going to make something new here, which is under material. There should be a, oh, it's not even here. Um, texture, texture tool. Um, the thing I'm looking for is called the curve atlas. Is it under blueprints? I'm trying to remember here. Might be under just miscellaneous. There we go. Curves and curve atlases. Perfect. So we'll make first a curve atlas. Um, C Seattle. And we'll call this greenery, maybe. Or no. No. We'll just all foliage. Seattle foliage.